Hello? Test?
Old timers are okay. That was my point for you. So if you're the only one who laughs, you feel like me.
Testing?
I call the May 13th, 2024 Goshen Board of Education meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Mr. Schenkel, could you please call the roll?
Mr. West. Present. Mrs. Werke.
Here.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Here.
Mr. Herrera.
Here.
Mrs. Gray.
Here. Before moving into approving the agenda, I'd like to begin by addressing the item Mr. West requested to be on the agenda tonight. There are 2 points I feel is important for our community to know publicly as part of the official business meeting. Mr. West requested a policy be placed on the agenda. However, the policy has not been vetted by our district administration and attorney. My decision of not placing the policy on the agenda at this time has nothing to do with the policy itself, but only the process that needs to be followed. Mr. West requested the policy via email on April 25th, less than 2 weeks prior to the date in which I'm required to set the agenda. My response to Mr. West on April 30th resulted in his refusal to meet with our district's attorney outside of the regular scheduled board meeting day. After further follow-up personally with the district's attorney, my response to Mr. West was as follows. Hello, Corey. Thank you for your recommendation of the policy shared above. After careful consideration and guidance from our attorney, due to the lack of proper vetting process being completed and learning that we do have a working process in place to cover the intent of the policy, I will not be placing the shared policy on this month's agenda. For a more clear vetting process, I've asked Superintendent to explore the implementation of a policy committee that will vet all policy recommendations by our state association and others. As shared by you above, stated in the board policy, a careful and orderly process is used when examining policy proposals prior to board action. As board president, it is my role to set the monthly board agenda in accordance with materials that have been appropriately vetted for implementation or consideration. To vet this policy, please plan a meeting with our superintendent, Brian Bailey, who can appropriate individuals who will help with the implementation of such policy, and our district attorney to seek guidance on the legal implications of such policy. This should be a team approach, so the policy is prepared according to the ability of full implementation at the time of consideration for approval. My hope is that the policy committee will allow for a very clear vetting process. Again, thank you for your interest in policy, and please work through the process as outlined above. Kindly, Deborah Gray, Goshen Board of Education President. Once a warrior, always a warrior. Placing the policy on the agenda is the first step of board action. However, the careful and orderly process had not yet been followed. I understand the interest of this policy. However, it is important we educate ourselves as board members and follow the appropriate measures to ensure the policy, whether it be from another district or off the internet, it must be appropriately aligned with our school district infrastructure. So if action of implementation is taken, we are prepared immediately. Secondly, it is important that all board members attend education sessions to inform themselves of the right as it comes to agenda items. Regardless, if not placing it on the agenda by me as board president, Mr. West, as a board member, you always have the right to make a motion to amend the agenda. With this understanding, would you like to make a motion to amend the agenda before we set the agenda approved tonight?
I would. Would like to make a motion to add it to the agenda.
You want to make the motion to add it? So are you saying you want to make the motion to amend the May 13th, 2024 board meeting agenda to include
First reading of the policy, correct?
which policy?
Policy that's submitted to you on April 25th,
The privacy facilities use policy?
correct?
Okay. Do we have a second? If no second, motion fails. Mr. West, I'd encourage you to work with Mr. Bailey to move this forward with the policy as stated above. Do we have a motion to approve May board meeting agenda as set?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Schenkel?
Yep, I will. I will be voting no on the approval of the agenda tonight, being presented due to the actions of the superintendent, Mr. Bailey, and the board president have chosen to violate board policy. I do have copies of those if you would like to see those. By excluding who have chosen to violate board policy by excluding my agenda item in tonight's proceeding. The refusal to acknowledge the values and beliefs of this community is unacceptable. The board president holds no more authority regarding the agenda than any other board member present. Their role, the superintendent and the board president, is to organize the agenda, not to unilaterally decide of its content. Both the superintendent and the board president have disregarded the voices of the community, fellow board members, and the students by their actions. It's within the board's responsibilities to review, add, update policies as outlined in our own policies. Mr. Bailey is obligated to act upon the board's request, and his failure to do so constitutes a violation. The inclusion of the policy, privacy facilities policy, is in tonight's agenda would have merely initiated the process outlined in our policies. Again, I have that if you'd like to see those as well. Allowing for review, understanding, and vetting our policies before any decisions were made. The board would have the next 30 days or till the next board meeting to do these actions, which our policy requires. And it states, and then we would vote on it at the next board meeting after those were finished. However, two individuals opted to prevent the inclusions tonight. This policy is crucial for protecting all students, particularly girls, by ensuring that only those who biologically belong to a certain facilities are allowed to access. The refusal to address this policy as per our board policy raises questions about their motives. I urge all present to consider their conscience, values, and ethics when making decisions. I constantly and consistently seek the input of the Goshen community and remain committed to representing their interests. When the community is denied the representation that they deserve, they have every right to voice their discontent. The sentiments expressed by the community indicate a desire for the representatives who prioritize academic outcomes and student safety over other considerations. Actions that undermine the will of the people, whether by the superintendent or by an elected representative, rightfully provoke anger. Until this district places the needs of our students and values of our committee at the forefront, passing any bond is unlikely. I'm prepared to work with you, but I will not stand idle by as our student safety is compromised. I will always advocate for student safety.
In addition to the discussion, just for anybody here in attendance tonight, there is a support plan in place for all students in terms of use of facilities. So if you'd like to see that, I have it on site tonight. Mr. Schinkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. West.
No.
Mrs. Werke.
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Yes.
Mr. Herrera. Yes. Mrs. Gray.
Yes. I'd like to call for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please stand as Vice President Bill Herrera leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome Athletic Director Scott Wake and Assistant Athletic Director Greg Miller to introduce us to the Warriors tonight to share with us about Goshen Athletics Student Achievement highlights.
Before they get started, I just, as we look at student achievement and bringing a couple groups together, this is going to fail ethically. Great teams, great players, great coaches. Go Warriors, go Warriors. Right? That guy doesn't know it. I said it to my wife, and she had no clue what it was. It's what it is. But when you say special teams, and they're going to go on to this, special players and special coaches, seriously, hard work and dedication of our student athletes, our coaches. We're proud of how you've represented our district, your parents, and our student body. Being a student athlete and a coach in today's competitive environment is not easy. I know that from your guys' side. Long hours, AAU, out of season, it goes year round. You put in a tremendous obligation. And we just want you to know that we thank you. As a community, we're proud of you. So they're gonna, as we get players of the year and special acknowledgements, and we've got a lot of student achievement that we celebrate every month. But as you wrap up a sports year, and I just want to take time to say thanks to the kids, thanks to our coaches. Get a little athletic update as we move through. So that's what I've asked Scott and Greg to come, as well as presenting Scott as Coach of the Year as well. So why don't you want to start with the players and coaches of the year, right, Coach?
Yep, sure. And we're honoring the players and coaches of the year. And we'll mention some team success, but we feel like athletics is really growing at Goshen and making a lot of strides forward. So if there's anybody who feels they're left out, we do apologize. But we've had a lot of successes. I don't know who has the control. Can we go to the next slide? So actually, if you want to go one more, I guess my order was out. So sorry. Players of the year this year, that's if you don't know how that process works, that's voted on by the league coaches. And so I do believe that you cannot vote for can you vote for your own player?
For player of the year, you can. Yes.
You can, but it takes all the other coaches in the league to support that. So it is quite an honor. It's the same thing with coach of the year. So Peyton DeLucas could not be here tonight, but let's give her a round of applause. Cross-country runner of the year, had tremendous success in track. Also our school's first Division I state qualifier in cross-country. So great stuff out of Miss DeLucas. We'll start off with Caden Ziner, boys basketball.
We're also giving them, and this is something new we started this year. Anybody comes to the board meeting or we find special recognition, we give them the Goshen pin that you wear proudly someplace if you leave us, or I might put it on your book bag. You'll find something else.
All state honors for Caden, and helped lead our boys basketball team to a league title, and also joined the 1,000-point club this year. So aside from being player of the year, hit a couple other milestones. So congratulations. Next on the list, Peyton Schaefer. It's funny, we kind of get to echo the same thing. Hit the 1,000-point mark this year, helped lead girls basketball to a league championship, was all-state in girls basketball, and is committed to Coastal Georgia to play. And I'm sorry I left that out. You're going to commit to UC Claremont, correct? Okay, awesome. Congratulations. Next on the list, Gage Crowley. Gage is a freshman in our wrestling program. Was voted on by the coaches. It's a little bit, it's live, but the coaches at the wrestling meet vote on wrestler of the meet. So as a freshman, Gage earned wrestler of the meet honors for the SBAC and also was a district qualifier this season. So congratulations, sir. Next, we got boys basketball coach Miles Burton. Helped lead our boys basketball team to a league championship and first 20-win season in school history, correct? Wow. First 20-win season in the regular season. So congratulations, Coach. We appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, Scott Wake led our girls basketball to a league championship, coach of the year, and sectional runner-up. So good tournament.
And I will give Coach Miller one great honor. Thank you. Maybe certificate doesn't go without hard work. You guys appreciate it. Sure. So,
as I mentioned with that slide, we did have boys and girls basketball bring home team championships, but middle school, things are thriving. We brought home 7th grade football, 7th and 8th grade volleyball. Mr. Noah Jarvis was our lone state qualifier this season, but that's great stuff. 7th grade boys and 7th grade girls basketball won league championship. We had multiple kids in cross country and at the track meet win league championships. And then this past weekend, we had both of our 4x800 meter relay teams in action at the junior high state meet, which might be the first time we've ever had 2 relay teams, but they did a great job representing Goshen. So let's give them a round of applause. So you want to hit a few of these? Or you want-
Yeah, several things that we've added and added to our athletic department, trying again to bring in some new areas of our athletic department. Greg was kind of involved in doing CPR training for our student athletes. We started a new program this past year, probably been about a year and a half now, with the Coach's Tool Chest, which is our coach's certification process. It used to be you had to go to a lot of different areas to get this. Now with Coach's Tool Chest, we go through, which gives us all our first aid, all of our sudden cardiac arrest training, our mental health training, with our first aid, all that training that goes into each one of our coaches has to do, whether they're a paid coach or a volunteer coach, they have to have certifications done every year. So this is a course that takes place with that, and they have to attain this in order to get the people activity permit through the state. High school leadership coach kind of led our high school leadership program, in which they bring in kids once a week. When he was able to.
Yeah, so most of you guys know I was out with some knee surgery for a prolonged period of time. But during our Warrior Up Bell, we kind of piloted a program with about 40 athletes this fall, where we brought them in and we just went through leadership scenarios. We gave them an opportunity to talk with each other, because we always feel like we want to grow leaders, but how do you do that? You don't just hand them the ball and say you're the quarterback. You have to practice with them. And so we went through, I think we had 5 sessions, which didn't complete the curriculum that I got, but it was good. But then Warrior Up gets busy. And I have a Warrior Up Bell. And so we kind of figured out, hey, we did 5 sessions and kids got a lot out of it. But moving forward, we'd probably like to start that a little earlier in the year so that we can get through the full curriculum for them.
And our league also does a leadership program in which once a year we bring kids from different schools over to this next year. We'll be here at Goshen, in which we go through and we bring in a speaker and we spend the whole day working with kids and just talking about getting leadership scenarios and how to work with teammates, how to work with coaches. So it kind of ties in with what we do as a league with leadership stuff. Things we've done with facility wise. We have had AED enclosures out. We've been out to the track and over towards Spalding. We've got some outdoor AED equipment that's there available for our youth when they are out there. And on a daily basis, we have our athletic trainers there. Who's always got our AED with us. But with our youth programs that are out there, especially in the fall with football, that puts a AED out there for them to be able to access.
That was made possible by generous donations from the Education Foundation and Ava's Army. So let's give them a round of applause. On the outside of the concession stands there year round. It's a heated unit. It's safe. You do have to make a phone call to get the code if there is an emergency, but that's just to protect the equipment. The one at Spalding will be there. It is the youth football AED, so it'll be locked in a cabinet. They have several AEDs. They're going to put one out there for their football season, which runs probably from July to November, and then they'll pull that out just because it's not a all-weather enclosure. It's not equipped for the cold.
Upgraded sound system, both the middle school and the high school. If you were in there this year, you could tell if you remember what it was from a year ago. It was a nice upgrade for things. The wrestling at the middle school, the wrestling team used to have to wrestle in the everyday practice was done in the cafeteria, so they would have to roll the mats up at the end of practice, roll them back up, and then put them away and get them back out the next day. So we were able to get them into the locker room over at the stadium with the varsity football locker room, and able to put down mats. They greatly appreciated the fact that they didn't have to clean up and roll everything up every day. And so that was a nice improvement for the wrestling program from that perspective. Field improvements for both baseball and softball. Did a lot of improvements and with the field, which made it really nice for Coach Slagle and myself. We're out there working on it. We're not out there working quite so many hours. So they regraded that, brought in some infield turf or infield soil, which did that. We bought new batting cages for the high school gym, which I know baseball and softball greatly appreciated. We will be doing the gym floor with the middle school, so they're going to sand that down. This is back from still from tornado, so we've got money from insurance that's going to be paying for that. So we weren't able to do it last summer because we were trying to get this gym done, and so they will come in, resand it, repaint and stain it. Thank you for Tyler Bailey helping with that. Also, he helped us design that. We appreciate him and his wife doing that with us. And then we have a communication app. So we went to Sports U this year, which was nice because it's free. But it was a nice piece of addition to that, and which allows our athletes and coaches and parents to be able to communicate, let them update them on things with schedules. So you make a change of schedule, it goes out to them right away. And so parents are able to see that. It's used by almost all of our teams now. So if you got a kid who's a multiple sport athlete, they can use the Sports U app, can do all the different teams. So they didn't have to go to 2-3 different apps in order to keep up with what's going on with each of the sports. So we also had updates with the powerlifting. We had a new powerlifting team. Coach Elkin started that up with them. It's co-ed, so we've had mostly boys, but we had several girls that went and competed. I think we had three different tournaments they went to this year, and was good. Our kids really enjoyed it. Saw improvements for them. Some of our kids did very well in the state tournament. Set lots of different PRs for that, which was good. So we got to get our kids in the weight room and continue to get lifting and get stronger. Our athletic boosters was also new this year. Several of them are here. Thank them for all
seeing everything that they
Yep, they did a ton of work for us. And the new board, having 5 people, we also appreciate that they were able to get a lot of our parents to come in and help out. So this year was nice. So we appreciate that all the work that they put into it and all that they've done for our student athletes. So. Up next, some of you may have noticed the OHSA tournament expansion and realignment of things. There has been a change in number of divisions for right now all we're competitive about. Yes. So hopefully we don't see any more Masons and St. X's in our tournament run. We already have football was at 7, but now in boys and girls soccer, which is now going to go to 5 divisions, and then baseball, softball, boys and girls basketball, and volleyball are all going to 7 divisions. So whereas this year most of our sports were Division I, and you were competing with the largest schools in the state, now we'll be in most of our sports will be Division III. And so consequently, we're going to be now competing with schools that are going to be our size. So I know that coaches throughout the state and the ones here are very happy to see that happen. So. Middle school?
Yeah, just it's a minor change, but something we felt like people about ahead of time. Our conference, we get together with all the athletic directors. We decided to move the middle school start time for all conference games back to 5 p.m. We felt like that gave transportation departments a little bit less stress, that they could send a bus out a little bit later. We felt like it gave officials during rush hour some time to get here. You guys met. Sometimes we have the same officials, they're familiar, but sometimes we get guys driving all the way from Harrison or Ross coming over to officiate a game. And so we want to make sure that they can make it safe and not cause a delay in the game. We also felt like it gave parents an opportunity to get to their kids' game if they work and get off a little bit later. It does present a little bit later night for those kids, and we understand that it's nice to get home early, but we kind of had to weigh the pros and cons, and we decided to go with a 5 p.m. start time in the conference this year. Okay. So some other updates. We're seeing a massive amount of increases in our expenditures. Uniforms have increased. The cost of a high school football helmet is anywhere between $400 and $500 right now just to have one helmet. And then that same helmet, it costs $70 to $80 to recondition it. We shop around. We don't just, go with one helmet. That's not the most expensive piece of headgear out there. There are helmets that are over $1,000 a piece. But it's the ones that we shop with Rydell, which is the ones you see on Saturdays and Sundays on guys' heads. So we feel safe about it. But the cost of operating athletics has just gone up. So here, and officials too, we have an official shortage. We got to pay officials more. what did we increase Friday night football officials? About 20, yeah. It's about $20 a piece. And then the state said it can't be a 5-man crew. It needs to be a 6-man crew if possible. So that's not just going from $70 to $95. That's also adding an extra person in there. So our expenditures are going up. A little bit later, the board is going to be presented a sponsorship opportunity for community businesses to hang banners at our stadiums and in our gymnasiums. And soon we will have the scoreboards included with that. You'll notice on there that it does not include spring, and that is simply because I don't have a really great place to put spring banners. It's not because I don't value spring sports. This is all going to support the just general funding for the athletics department. But we have really nice windscreens on all of our outfield fences, and I can't hang banners over that. So I'm still working on spring stuff, and as we move forward with new scoreboard contracts, I'll have to update this. This is my first go at it. So I took some area schools that were doing some advertising. I talked to some local businesses on what they thought, was an appropriate price for said advertising. And I put together the proposal that I gave you guys a little while ago. So appreciate if we approve that so we can get it out. My goal would be to have it in place this fall so that we can start to generate some more revenue for our athletics and support area businesses with the advertising. And then the last thing coming to us is we are going to drop the NFHS network. Some of you may have subscriptions where you can watch that. NFH network, HS network doesn't generate enough revenue for what it is. They take a big cut of it and their cameras are pretty inconsistent. We currently have AI-driven huddle cameras in our gymnasium and at our stadium. And so we'll be able to live stream every athletic event to that. You'll just pay a per event price. And so, and in future, it will give us an opportunity to do some advertising on there, but I'm not there yet with it. It's brand new to us. So we got to make sure we can stream before we advertise. So with that, I think that's the end of our piece. Oh, and Tyler Bailey did provide me with a mock-up of what our banners could look like for the sponsorship. There's different places on the fences and different, size banners for that. So thank you, Tyler.
Before we wrap up your portion, can we have the athletes that were recognized that aren't here today just stand up and tell us who they brought with them?
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it.
We usually do that in student achievement, so.
Okay. Want me to say who I
Yeah.
brought? Okay, well, I brought my dad and then my mom in the back.
Brought my mom. My baby brother.
Before we wrap up on that, can you recognize the new board for the Goshen Athletic boosters that have done such a phenomenal job this year?
Absolutely.
If they're in the.
They are here. We got is Kayla here. I think
Yes,
it's
Kayla Flynn.
Kayla Flynn. Yep.
Stand up. Kayla Hadley. Stand up. Katie Burke. And Melissa West. Rachel Miller. Yeah, not here. So we appreciate everything they do. They run our concessions. They support our student athletes, do a lot, just volunteer, and they bring a lot to us. So we really appreciate them
Very much. Very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, he was.
Next, we'd like to welcome Mr. Seifert to share with us some recent art student achievement.
And I don't have a funny TikTok to start this one off, nor do you want to see my high school artwork. We are, excited to have Mr. Seifert here, and if any of you had the opportunity just a week ago to make us a fine arts night to see district-wide all the great artwork of our K-12 students and what they did at each building. It's because of dedicated staff like this, but, they get accolades in the classroom, I'm sure, but this is a pretty big one that we had 2 students take first and second place in the 2024 Congressional Art Competition. The Congressional Institute sponsors a nationwide high school visual art competition to recognize and encourage artistic talent in the nation in each congressional district. Brad Winstrup, our congressional rep, invited our high school students in Ohio's 2nd district to enter the competition. And guess what? Goshen got 1st and 2nd. So we want to. I had Kylie come up, and Kylie's is here displayed. Cabin by the river. Is that what the title was? By the lake. That's right. I had to get that right. But I can see why it was chosen. And I appreciate anything you want to say there. Has Kylie worked through that, or Kylie anything? I don't want to. It looked very well done. So thank you. Kylie's artwork is going to be where? Because there's two.
It's going to be hung in the Capitol for a year. Kylie and one parent will be flown to Washington, D.C. for a ceremony toward the end of June. So they'll make a day of it in June to be honored at a big award ceremony with the other congressional winners throughout the United States. So congratulations.
Miranda Royal took 2nd, and this was her piece, and it is going to be in one of the Ohio Congressman's Washington D.C. offices. Correct? Yes. So it'll be placed in there. So we're proud of our fine arts. We're proud of all of our student achievement, and it's great teachers like this. And I've got a certificate for you that I appreciate the work you put into it.
Kylie, would you mind standing up to share who you wrote for?
I brought my mom and my dad.
Who are you taking?
Yeah. Mom said it was her. I don't know, but I'm gonna guess that's probably what's gonna happen. Congratulations. And I get the wonderful opportunity to honor our preschool staff from Mark Cook Elementary School. Our preschool earned their 5-star award again this school year. And I don't know if any of you in the room have had children go through our preschool program, but there is none finer than the people that you're going to see here tonight. My daughter's been 3 years, not because she failed, but because after 3, I put her in there. I knew it was going to be a great opportunity for her. So, and just in case you don't know, all schools are required to offer preschool. Ohio Revised Code. That's why we offer our preschool opportunity for our youngest learners. But what a great foundation they get at Mark Cook. And it gets them prepared for Mark Cook kindergarten. And that foundation is very strong. So I want to introduce to you our fine Mark Cook preschool staff. Jennifer Bruni, who has a wonderful Thank you for everything. Stay up here. We're going to have a picture. Sorry.
She thought she was sneaking out.
Lisa Burns. Ron Chimura. A little bit. Kelly Doan. Here tonight, Jessica Lynn Berner. Stephanie Rolke. Zach Larson. Gil Parks. And of course, I can't forget Miss Stevens, who is also foundation. I'm sorry. Amanda, sorry, Amanda, come on up. And then Ms. Stevens, who was a foundation of our preschool, but also the building principal. So get a picture of your fine staff here. Get closer.
Scoot in.
Let's go closer.
Come on, you like each other.
Stand behind you.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. You all look wonderful. Nice job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you on behalf of the Goshen Board of Education for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
will say tonight, you guys have on your agenda as well, approval of a new preschool teacher because our preschool is growing. We will be adding an additional unit to this incredible staff and excited about, the staff we hired for that. But they do a great job, starting with the littlest. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.
One of them right there.
One of them right there.
You know, he's mine.
I was just in the front row. And I delivering to mom and dad, so that matters.
Right there. So that wraps up student achievement for tonight. Students and staff who choose not to stay for the remainder of the meeting are welcome to leave at this time, or you're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Great job. Great job.
It was in person.
Have a good night.
I am the front row.
All right, moving on to old business, item A and B. Mr. Bailey, can you please share an update on open enrollment and capital plan year one?
So Todd's going to do a lot of this, but as we did our April retreat, we obviously dug into a lot of things and finishing the year strong and focusing on them. Excited talking to one of my colleagues about going through the first graduation, finishing this year strong with this year's 2024 class. And then, we were also asked to gather information requested on the impact of open enrollment to our district's finances over the next 2 to 3 years. If we made a decision one way or the other, cut or make adaptations to it. So Todd and I have put together, a lot of this is, it's financial. Todd's going to work through this, but this goes back to that April retreat and conversations we had last month about this. And hopefully this, as we go through, hopefully, you'll have time for questions at the end and discussion.
Or if you have questions at any time, just holler. We'll see. So I'm going to give a little history because like open enrollment, it's kind of something that's in the funding formula that sometimes it used to be out, now it's in. And just to try to give a 50,000 foot view on how it all ties in to our funding. In Claremont County, just a little FYI, there's only one school in New Richmond. They do not have open enrollment. That was when they were going through their power plant shutdown and they had a performance audit, recommend them shut down a couple of buildings. So they got rid of that to literally just move people into a certain one. Right now there's open enrollment around the state. There's 87,000 people do it. The charter schools, there's 119,000 and home educated is $35,000. Kind of seen this slide before when we was doing the bond issue. We kind of put out there it was in all of our news correspondence and all that kind of stuff. And really there's three main funds in schools. The general fund, which is the main operating, that includes all open enrollment. So I want to kind of focus on that, which is used for salaries, benefits, the daily operations. The PI fund and the bond fund are not even going to discuss those, but the bond fund, that is a totally separate fund outside of our general fund that used for basically a mortgage on the building side. So prior to the Fair School Funding Plan, which started in fiscal year 22, school funding was based on where the students slept. So what I'm saying there is like if we had a Goshen kid that stayed here, they were included in the formula. If it's a Milford kid, that Milford kid was in their funding formula, and the open enrollment was below the line. So in that, if you can tell, this is our December 22. It took, this is the year that when it got phased out, but open enrollment, I'm gonna stand up here a little bit. This number right here, this is basically the funding formula at the time. $17 million is what we was gonna get. The open enrollment was down here. If they're coming in, we get money for them. If they're going out, we're losing money. So basically, if we had a Goshen kid that was, they would be in this, if they open enrolled went to Milford, there's $6,020 went with them. So that's how that kind of worked out. Over here, our open enrollment in on our very last one was $1,655,000, roughly a couple hundred, 275 kids. And then open enrollment going out was 344. So we net each year $1.3 billion. And on our 5-year forecast, bottom line for cash is $6.5 million, roughly in that neighborhood. So that's the way it was prior to the fair school funding plan. So this was the December statement. You go online and find that in ODE. And then here come the new formula. Now the formula is based on where the students attend school, not where the student lives. So basically now if a Milford kid comes in, they're in our count over here in this operation of stuff, because now you get it more based on cost. So you get special ed costs, DPIA, you've got gifted kids, that sort of thing. The funding formula then went to 19.16. In that spot where we was 17, that was our number. So before what they used for the guarantee, and we got over that amount by a couple $1 million. So that we're on the funding formula as that came out there. You can see here, so on the cost, the state goes through and they determine what the base cost of a kid is. I don't know the formula for that. I'll be honest with you, the state comes up with that. Our local capacity, they're saying it's 2,800. So this is our state share. So when people are asking, what are we getting an open enrollment kid? We put out there $5,200. Right there, that's what we get. Our state funding for 2024 is now went up to $20 million. And I'll show you that little slide as well. So again, on the base cost share, that 5245, this is in the state number that goes through. This is our fiscal year, March of 24. So this is our current year, the formula that goes through. I should have maybe tap these things. Sure. But anyway, if you go through, and this is, it's very, I mean, there's a lot of stuff when you get into the gifted and the special ed, tons of different categories, but it rolls down to $20,120,000. This is our number right here. If you go to our 5-year forecast, that's the number we're using. It's $20,000,001.
Does that take out the ones that we have to pay for others, or is that gone now?
So now it's just everyone that comes here is us, and I mean a Goshen kid. And if it's, say we got a kid going to Milford, Milford's got them in their funding formula. Totally different where it used to be funded below. Now it's where they go to school and they're in that number. So it's, I mean, it's a little bit trickier. This guy here, I use this. Ernie Strauss to be the treasurer at Norwood City Schools. Very, very, very sharp. They have a program that you can go through and work on all your numbers. And it's tied into the state, like we pull in when there's any extracts or anything pulled in there. And the question was, if we cut open enrollment, we've got 236 open enrolled students. Now we actually got 312 or 319, but we have 83 students that are employees. So in our union agreement, those kids, they're allowed to bring them here, and they do. So if we currently Goshen Local Schools is bringing in that 1,000,006 from open enrollment to 319 times the 55 or 5245. If we would eliminate enrollment, 236 students would be cut to reduce the revenue on an average of 1.3 million or 5.5 million. If we roll out another year on the 5-year forecast, that would equate to about $7 million altogether if we cut that. One of the things too that has helped out with a lot of school districts is when COVID hit, everyone got ESSER funds. This year, that's all going away, so that'll be out of the cut. If you look, there's tons of districts out there making cuts. I mean, like really brutal cuts. I hate to say that, but that's what's going on. There's another thing that's going to be coming up this year on 5-year forecast. If the department determines the district has potential or incur a deficit during the first 3 years of the 5-year period, the district will be required to submit submit a written plan to eliminate the flag deficit. So basically, what are you going to do now? Your money's going away. And this, I don't know all the details of what happens because hopefully we avoid that. It's just something to keep in mind on down the road. And then if districts, it has a deficit on line 10.010 in fiscal year 24-25 may be placed in fiscal oversight. So that's basically fiscal caution, warning, all that kind of stuff. We're not in that boat, but it's just something to kind of look at. This right here this kind of encompasses a lot of the stuff that we added when COVID came. Summer school to try to get the kids back. Mental health services, a lot of stuff going on there. We put full-time subs because everyone had, was going through quarantine and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of those programs there would be, I'm not just saying if we lost revenue, that'd be something we'd have to go through and cut. You can give me on that next one. If we do cut open enrollment, the district's fixed costs do not change. So like the number of buses, I mean, we're still going to run this number of buses because open enrolled kids they do not get busing services. ESC services, I mean, we're still going to have, that's what we got the speech, OT, PT, that sort of thing with them. Cleaning services, that's our Alpha Omega bill. The electric bill will still be going there. We'll still have a cafeteria and custodial staff. The district would still lose 46 kids to open enrollment elsewhere. That's what we're currently at. We have 46 kids leaving, maybe more if we reduce expenditures. And I'm just putting on there if like maybe an AP course, if their kids looking that route, maybe that's something they look at. Vouchers, school opportunities provided by state will still be available. That's one thing that our legislation has put out there, the number of kids that can go to private schools, the Mollers and that sort of thing, and they get money for that. So that's coming away from that. And a bond issue, I mean, this is just Todd's opinion. We're still be uncertainty for the residents until property tax reform is implemented. When the bills went out this year for our real estate taxes, I mean, it hit right at the time it was going out there. Huge increase for everyone because that's a 20 mil floor. All right, so in the future, we're just financing there. At the beginning of the year, our 5-year forecast, I mean, when I first did the 5-year forecast, this was before any revaluation at all out there. The number that we was going to be getting, we was estimating, in real estate taxes, about $6.2 million, public utility, which we don't have a ton of, but we still got $461,000. That was what was estimated on our taxes. And this is just a number to try to remember out here. This line right out here, fiscal year, or on our unrestricted grant and aids, $22 million that would be coming from the state to offset us. So on that, if you look, basically in this year, when we started, 32% became from local. That is our real estate taxes, public utility, and then our also, our income tax made that up. State funding 59% and all other. Those numbers they all round, so sometimes they don't add up, but that one's I think okay. So that's the numbers there. So what happened after we got the year going and the change in values came out? So just a quick reminder, remember home values, 35% multiplied by the effective rate. We've been at the 20 mil floor forever. That's as low as any school district's got, which gave us the original tax bill. And then over here is the homestead rollback. So that's what the state actually sent, and then everyone got their tax bills that went out. That's a new point.
Okay.
There's just a couple quick, tax rates and all that. I wanted to show the inside millage amount. Every county gets 10 mills. So with that 10 mills, they're divided in different ways. For schools, it's 4.6 mills that we get, and everything else is like the county gets some and that sort of thing. That all rolls to the 20 mil floor. Fixed rate levies is if we went out and ran an operating levy over time, as the value goes up, our millage comes down, and you'll eventually hit the floor. That's where we're at now. That's what we did. 1976, we haven't ran one, so we hit the floor. And this fixed sum levies is basically a bond issue, what we've been running. It's not included in the floor, voter approved. It adjusts that we get X amount of dollars to pay the debt payment each year. And that's just a little summary, basically saying that, we've hit the state minimum millage is down to the floor. So that's where we're at on that one. Okay. So with that, this is just, I think, a pretty neat little thing just to show. It's basically as our values go up, in most cases, these districts are going there, but we're not even on that to get flat. We're just paying more and more taxes, unfortunately, because of the values that's going on. If you guys have any questions? I know I ramble like quite a bit. Can you hit the next one there?
What's the, what do we look like when we're paying? I know we talked a little bit about it, but what's the cost per student? I know that varies as far as what we pay per student. And I know you're saying we get 5,200 for
Yeah.
the open enrollment students, so.
So what happens is like if you go to like our report card number, I mean, like just on the state, it's about 11,000 something for an average. So what the state does is they take all your expenditures divided by the number of students. That's your average that you pay. So in our situation, like say you take the bus contract, $90,000 a bus, we got 30 buses, 2.7 million. A lot of our kids don't ride the bus, you know, because I mean, you can sit out here on any morning and watch out all of our traffic. So even though we don't have a bus, they're still accounted to that. And even on the ESC bill, that's about another $3 million. Not all of our kids need those services. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things when you look at like cost, it is an average cost. So it makes it a little bit tougher when you know exactly what the number is on the revenue and the rest is thrown in there.
So if you get rid of the open enrollment kids, the cost per student is going to actually increase.
It will.
Because your fixed costs are staying
On
the
that-
same.
on that-
So it'll be a smaller number of heads that is divided.
Correct. And that's and then, you know, that's what they use on that average cost per expenditure.
And then did you put something together? I didn't see it on Friday. Did you put something together that is an estimate of the new property taxes that we're getting with the new homes coming and being built in the 1%? Do we know those numbers?
Yeah, that's on our current 5-year forecast that we've been doing.
Is
That's a
that-
good question. I'll get it. Yeah,
Okay.
So anyway, and the one thing I just want to say on this property tax reform, I mean, it is a huge deal at Columbus right now. People, I mean, like, this is some of our professional organizations. This guy used to he worked for the Department of Taxation and works with schools and a lot of stuff. And he's up there talking about the property tax that's now in the Ohio Constitution, the reduction factors, the floors, and the interaction between property and fair school funding. Because the thing is, if they adjust that a lot, everything's tied into the school funding formula that people are hitting the floor. So if they adjust that, that's going to change the formula and the local capacity and a lot of stuff. So there's a lot that's going to be coming down there. I think we got some of that in our legislative update stuff. Good question, though.
That's a
And
good
then-
mixture. That's a good mixture, though, the CFO and treasurers from different districts. I mean, you have Sycamore Community School Treasurer, you have Athens City School Treasurer. Those two drastically different.
Yeah, and
Athens City Schools are some of the poorest schools in Ohio, if not the poorest.
it's great to see that when you got that diversification, because I always felt like if in Claremont County, you can fix what's happening in Felicity and what's happening in Milford and West Claremont, you can fix anything. I mean, that is a huge diverse difference. You know what I mean? We kind of fall in the middle of that, but that's what they're all trying to fix all the time. And one of these things, I went to one training and I remember someone saying, if legislatures were told to go screw it up the worst they can, to fund schools, they couldn't have done a better job than what's happened. I mean, it's been a mess. I mean, so this new funding formula, it did happen in 20, they're trying to get that all worked out. Another little thing in tax rates and stuff, this is what we're looking at future. I mean, right now I put in an 8.15% increase. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. I mean, the houses are being built like crazy. You know, the people put their house up for sale, they go for a lot more. I mean, who knows exactly what's going to happen on down the road in fiscal year 26. But I can tell you the one thing that's not happening is we'll still stay at 0 on our tax rate. So we're going to be at the 20 mil for that whole entire time.
So Todd, with Corey's question, you said 8.15% is what you've estimated in real estate taxes going up
On the values.
on the values, correct?
This is the value line that's there. Oh, now you're.
Darn, I thought you're pointing.
It's like, sorry about that. So then here's our 5-year forecast after the revaluation. This is what's kind of wild. It's like our number here went up like over $1 million. Here's our real estate taxes. Then our unrestricted, that line right here, it went down to 19. So what really, you know, watch my tongue here because what stinks really bad on this is that our local people are paying this. And I don't know how you're going to go out there and, you know, for us, how do you tell the people that, yeah, you're paying more money and the state's giving us less because the local capacity has went up. And that's, you know, I think that's where it's very frustrating for us because I think a lot of people are moving to Goshen because we got good schools. They want to come to school. And so like our values are going up, but then they're taking the state's taking the money away from us. So it's very, very frustrating in that respect. I mean, this is the current 5-year forecast that like when we get the financial, this will be part of it here. We're still maintaining a good cash balance. And then on down the road here, we start seeing where we do dip into the cash a little bit, but we really do try to monitor that.
Where's that at? Is it the
line 6.0 or 10, that is our excess. So we're looking to be about $2 million, $2 to $3 million in the good this year. And then our cash is going to be roughly $13 million.
And this is still taking into account all the new 1% and all that? We're going to lose money, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right here.
The state is,
I think-
even though we get the taxes, but the funding.
That's fair though, right? I mean,
I think all,
the locals is what you're saying, although it less from the state, but more from locals, just because they're the ones using it.
Well, because our values went up. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you can think of local dollars actually staying here, but then again, the money sent to the state they'll give it to somebody else.
So I guess, yeah,
bottom line is we
yeah.
don't get more,
So I think,
unfortunately.
so what happens really in that is that, and I live in Goshen, so I got hammered with taxes too. Not honestly. So when you go out there and you talk to, like all of us that's from Goshen, your taxes went up locally. Guess what? They really did a lot. But we're not getting any more money because the state's, and it'll be kind of broken in as they bring in the new funding formula. Because right now it's 50% funded. So it's kind of a triple effect on how it works the next 3 years. There's all kinds, I guess that's why I was kind of talking about the tax reform, because a lot could change. We've even pushed, Mr. Bailey and I, there should be something for our senior citizens. They're on fixed income. They can't handle this type of increase. It's a lot. So just something to look at. That's on down the road. So what happened is then, and I know this is just minor, but we went from 32 to 59. Now we're 34 to 57. And it's just slowly starting to evolve on what you can get locally. And that's our local taxpayers paying it. So
I would like to touch on what you just said though. Like we're continuing to ask the local Goshen taxpayers for more money, and the increase has gone up. And I think the thing that's been preached about from every single building principal to teachers to everybody, even when we were doing the bond, is that we don't have space. We don't have space. And so the idea was just to go to the taxpayers who are already paying a ton more money to ask for more money. And so I guess I'm finding it hard just because the open enrollment students are taking up classroom space from the folks that live in here, but yet we want to go and ask more taxpayers for more money.
But
I guess that's where
I thought we decided to table that we were not going to ask taxpayers, but we weren't going to put a.
For 2 to 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But in the past we did do that. So I guess that's where I'm struggling.
Well, and to make sure we're clear, we're not asking them for operating dollars.
No, you're asking,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So we're not asking them for money to run. I think, with Todd's forecast, I think maybe that piece missed explaining it. I'm sure he's got forecasted in there growth in the income, but it's moderate, and I'm sure growth in the real estate because I don't have the crystal ball to know how many of those homes are turning over. We're trying to watch the neighborhoods, but all you can do is forecast that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is we don't have room. That's what I'm saying. We don't have room is what I'm saying.
Right. So that's why we're looking at the numbers right now to consider our open enrollment numbers and how much revenue we have to be able to continue to have the additional teachers we have, the tutors we have, summer school. Ascend Academy is a huge benefit to our students. There's lots of benefits. So we have to make sure we balance that budget. Maybe we phase out or balance out open enrollment as students move in, so that out on the revenue per student.
No, I agree.
Todd's got a bunch more here.
I do have a bunch.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not too, but I'll try to go quick. So we already did this. But as expenditures, we're fine. Our expenditures are going up. And I just want to kind of just show in here. This is on our current 5-year forecast. If we keep open enrollment, this is where we're at. We do have a decline. This is really not the scale. Because it takes us down to about $13 million on the 5-year forecast. So that's where we show, and that's when we were out there when the bond issue was on the ballot, that's what we kept saying, like, we don't need to run operating because we are doing a pretty good job with that. So that's where we got there. So there is a couple reasons on that. And I mean, you know, we've maintained a balanced budget for 10 years in a row. Now, there's some tough times to do that, but I mean, one of that was due to COVID. We got a ton of ESSER funds. I mean, all the schools did. We went out, we still went and got school safety grants and to offset as much as we could. The tornado, I mean, that was over $6 million in repairs that we need to make. And fortunately, I mean, our deductible was only $2,500, but that was a lot of time was focused on getting the windows in, the new roofs on, and that sort of stuff. But was really frugal and make sure we did what we needed to do to protect our general fund as much as possible. This year, the interest rate increase, I mean, while on the bad, when you're trying to borrow, it was good on our investment side, but it's been doing really well. And then, you know, you talked earlier about some of the stuff like the athletics department was talking what they've done. We've held off a little bit on the maintenance items in hope of passing the bond, because then we can tie in our HVAC to the update. Where are we going to put our parking lots, the roofs, and that sort of stuff? But now we're kind of at the point where we know it's not going to happen, so we're going to go out and start getting some of these repairs done. I mean, we've really put off the parking lots and stuff for quite some time. So then this is what our forecast looks like if we cut 236 students. So when I was talking about that, we were on the formula right now. If we take 236 kids out, the formula drops us below the line and we come back to the guarantee is how that works. So it's somewhere between 200 to 236 kids is the mechanism on that one right there. But you can see on the state aid, our number then drops down to $18 million. And then our cash balance, if you look on line 6.010, it drops each year a negative amount till we're going to be $3 million over, or our cash balance would be at $6.8 million out in fiscal year 28. And then I just wanted to share this briefly, is that this is all the schools in Claremont County, and this is fiscal year 23, 22, 21, 20. Our ending cash balance is, you know, like I said earlier, it'd be about 13 million. On that, that's 38% of our cash balance right there. So that makes sense on our total expenditure. So we have a cash balance of 38% of, but I wanted to just say, compared to the other schools, like Felicity has 55%, 41, and 48, 42. So we're right in the middle on what everyone does have in expenses. And then the last little thing here is this is our cash balance here. Back in 2012, this is like a 10-year graph that shows that we did only have 12% of our cash in the bank for expenditures, and we have since went up to, here's our 38.2. This brown line is the Claremont County schools, and the state average is 44%. So I guess the main thing I want to just say is, while 13 million does sound like a lot of money, it's not in regards to like with the budget. So we got another one.
I know you stated at our retreat that what's in our general fund would basically, it would last us 157 days if all of our funding was cut, or somewhere near 150 days if all of our cuts. So it's really like a savings like you would do for your own house. 6 months in case you lost jobs and things like that. So
right. It's kind of like it's not too much fun. There's no such thing. I mean, I don't know if there's too much, but I mean, really, we do need to look at that and maintain there. So really, this is just like what I'm thinking here is we really continue to monitor the impact of the growth and open enrollment impact on class sizes. There are short-term space options we can apply for with our open enrollment revenue. Continue to monitor open enrollment, home sales, and property tax reform. And I'm not saying that we should or should not, but I mean, I'd really recommend that we maintain our open enrollment, see what comes down the pipe with all these home sales, what happens at the state level, and that sort of thing, and just watch it. I mean, because I do really feel there's going to be a lot going on right now. I mean, in that arena. And so this is kind of like by the numbers that what we really look at when we do our open enrollment right now. We're ending the year with 319 kids open enrollment. We have 17 seniors graduating. We expect several open enrollment students to move into the districts and also several to withdraw. So we currently have right now for next year 359 applications for the year. We have 286 returning, 79 of those are staff that they'll still be coming. So we got 73 brand new applications. 21 of those are kindergarten, 4 staff. So normally what we're looking at is how many kids we got graduating? So we got 17 graduating, and now we're going to be pulling in 21. So it's a difference of 4 students. I can tell you our Mark Cook building, and now that we got the trailers at Spalding, we have a lot more capacity in those buildings because we've kind of worked for that. And then the middle school and high, you have to watch. So that's one thing when we're trying to do is when we balance that number. I mean, we know right now, right around 300 kids is our lid. I mean, we're with space and all that. So we do look at that right there. Sorry, another one. Don't look for it. Okay. So just looking at the impact on our 5-year forecast, I mean, the loss of revenue is going to impact our programs if we would get rid of it. The uncertainty of how fast the growth will come in the proposed property tax reform on a 5-year it's a toughie. So I mean, like if we would happen to cut and we know that new people are moving in, if they all have the little tights and stuff and they're not in school just yet, you know what I mean? There could be that gap, just something to look at. So, I mean, I'm just recommending that we keep it for now, working to balance our open enrollment as the growth in the township continues. But happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I got rambled.
So when you say keep it, where the consideration that we're thinking is that we balance it out. So we don't want to increase the number of butts and seats, right? But we don't want to decrease because we don't want to lose out on the amount of money that funds the things that were all listed up there, like the academy, the additional teachers. We want to be able to keep those. As we grow, we'll phase out open enrollment.
What we've said. It's a balancing phasing act as you go through this to maintain the programs. If Todd's saying that a lot of districts are in cuts right now. We're not in that, but if you start making, if we make decisions on, taking so many kids out, 100,000 over 5 years is 500,000 on that forecast. I think we've been fiscally responsible. We're not going out and asking for operating dollars. I think we know that, where we're at with that. So I would continue to balance and phase, knowing that we don't want to lose revenue, because now's not a good time to lose revenue. If you're looking at property tax reform, which I sure as heck hope. I mean, we've written letters and we have said that they need to do something at the state level. And I'll show a slide later. There are bill after bill at the state level to reform tax. Our economically disadvantaged, some of our disabled citizens, our senior citizens, they need to do something. And I think the state will, but it will probably come on the backs of the schools. I think that's just too big of an unknown to say that they're going to fully fund the fair school funding formula. If we look at that and they fully fund to 10,000 a kid, and we've got that revenue coming in, that could help us offset some of our building costs. We may be able to do something with that. I think we just have to look at it and understand that you don't have too many opportunities to get revenue. The only chance you have to get revenue is to go out and ask for it on a tax levy, and we're not doing that. But to say that we have the space right now, and I agree, by us saying that we're tight in spots, we are. But I think a lot of our bonds, if you go back, we were trying to do a proactive issue, especially this last one at 2.9 mils. It was going to be as cheap as it could get on our residents. It's never going to be cheaper. The construction costs continue to go up. We were trying to find that gap, and that gap to get us 10 to 15 years didn't happen. We're going to have to figure that out on our own, and we're going to have to make some decisions and look at things moving forward. I don't think next year is the time to say, 236 kids going. I think Todd's recommendation as the treasurer who balances the books is balance this out, understand it's a business decision, and make the right one for the current kids here and future kids as we look at it. But, we put a lot of that open enrollment dollar into programs for kids here at Goshen resident kids, and I don't want that to be left out. That revenue is being spent for great programs for our kids. So it's not like they're not. Those kids are paying, and that, $5,400 is being used for great programs for our kids. If you cut that, we do have to as Todd showed, you show 3 years, at year 3, you're showing a decline in your budget. You got to do something. I don't think that's wise right now for us to do. So that's Todd's recommendation. That would be mine as well, is that we continue to balance looking at those current applications, looking at our enrollment, not doing more, understanding that we're trying. I wish I had a crystal ball to know that, you know, in my time at a prior district, I counted on 5% every year growth. We're not there yet. I want to see these neighborhoods. We were still trying to be proactive to plan for it. Once we see that, it doesn't stop. And I think that's when some hard decisions have to be made. Families that are open enrolled understand that. Right now, it's a year by year. We hope to, you know, allow kids to move all the way through, but you know, I just don't think that the revenue that would be lost right now in a time that's very uncertain at state level, and what's coming to us from that it's a wise decision to do that. So that would be our recommendation from the day to day.
A few things that I do think we need to consider is while I do think it's a business consideration, there are kids' lives at hand here too,
That
right?
too.
And so we do have to think about the kids, even open enrolled kids. A kid who's went through 10 grades here has developed friendships, a community, a livelihood here in our district. And so I do think we have to keep that in consideration as we even consider the balancing out or phasing out or whatever that is. And then secondary to that, you know, there's not unlimited teachers out there. And so it is built into our teacher contract. And I think that's a benefit for our teachers. And I think it's a benefit that we need in this time of, you know, less teachers in our population. So those are some things that I'd like us to consider.
When you look at accepting new open enrollments, I know Mark Cook has the most room available, right? But you know, that's not going to be that way when they get. So you're taking into consideration the future impact of that larger class. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's going to be quite a while before they get in high school, which is our most
correct.
Yeah. We have to go back programs in high school first.
It is. Yeah. It's a balancing act. Like, you know, like right now, I think if there's 21 kindergarten, and I didn't do the metrics on this, probably let's just say 6 of those families have a 3rd grader, 4th grader somewhere in the district. So, you know, there's decisions you're going to make that, you know, and when we say some kids are going to withdraw their application, and open enrollment, even our enrollment with some of the populations we have is kind of a little fluid at times. We still have a transient population. You have 50 move out, you have 60 move in. You know, we do see, I know that we had that slide where 25 or 35 open enrollment kids, parents have bought the houses here. When a house comes on the market, they're trying to get into it. So that number fluctuates throughout the year. And, you know, obviously with it being funded by butts and seats, we definitely just want to keep a balance right now because a drop in that revenue, you know, one kid doesn't seem like a lot, but when you multiply that over a 5-year forecast, it does. It has an impact. So, and we don't want to be going out and asking for operating dollars. I mean, we won't. I know you guys won't. I know I won't. That's where we've stayed within this 1%. I said it as we hired teachers for 13 years. We live in that 1% and we make sure that we can afford it because we know we can't go back out and ask for more dollars. So from that side of it, we've got to do a little bit of what we can to bring in some revenue when we can and, you know, balance it as we grow. It's a good problem, but it's, as Todd showed, fair school funding and property tax, that just took him 45 minutes. So it's not an easy, it's not easy. They've made it convoluted but, you know, but we do appreciate state support, federal support we get from IDEA. I mean, there's dollars that go into that, but you know, we're at the mercy of that fair school funding and hopefully them continuing to fund it. So, you know, I think that's the piece we got to keep watching too is we say that base cost, it's supposed to escalate throughout. They got a biennial budget coming up. They could flat fund it. All our expenses keep going up, but they can flat fund it. So, you know, we're at the mercy of that piece of it. And we just have to, as long as the scoreboard doesn't, or the way they keep score doesn't keep changing, we can figure it out. But, you know, again, back to it, it's a delicate time in school finance and property tax. And I can't see losing revenue right now if we have the space for it. So.
Todd, that was a great presentation. However, would you call that a community-friendly forecast?
Well,
this is a trick question. You know, so when I was up at BLI, you know, they went one of the school funding programs or communicating funding. One of the things they talked about was creating month after month after month, and sometimes your heads are still spinning.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that's something I'd like to talk to you about, because I was up there, 2 weeks ago up there at BLI, and that's something.
Community.
Yeah, community-friendly forecast, that's what they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Program.
Yeah, so it was, kind of makes it a little bit easier to understand. It combines a lot of that stuff into some of those columns, and I know it's gonna be great work for you guys too. But I mean, but really, I mean, so the community can understand, you know, and to get that, so we're not,
Go one more. I would say this is probably your simplest community friendly, because you've got state funding, local funding, the dollars that are coming from it.
well, this one
Then
brings,
you
this
get
one almost
into,
looks like
right?
the five-year, the full
Okay.
chart, five-year
Okay.
forecast and everything.
Gotcha.
But it's, I mean, it just kind
Yeah.
of, we'll go over it.
Yeah,
I'll show you what.
I mean, really, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And the more people can understand, the less misinformation will get out there.
Yeah, I think that's
That's the big.
Yeah. Well, I think the most frustrating thing for me personally on that whole thing is that we got kids here that on free and reduced, free and reduced lunch, and we'll charge stuff and all this. And the state's got the money, freaking fund it.
Yeah.
But they let it go out to private. It just,
Yeah.
I just
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah.
have a problem with that. I mean, if you want to go that way, it's America, go do it. But I mean, here, I know we have a
Well,
big
no, this
audience.
is
Sorry.
just how to present
Yeah.
the forecast, what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about community friendly. It's just that it's in a friend,
Right.
It's a little bit easier to understand. You just combine some of those columns and rows, things that some people ask. And if people want to look deeper into it, you can say this number comes from this, and then they can go to that huge.
And I would say, anybody sitting in the audience, this is kind of, you start to blur at this when you think about it, but there is a voucher, universal vouchers that are in the state of Ohio, and it's $8,000 or so a kid can take and go, depending on where they want to go, take it and go. And that's funded by the state, which is all of our taxpayer dollars as well that do that. So, Goshen, as Todd said, all districts in Claremont County besides one have open enrollment, and so does the entire state. So you have to kind of look at it that way. Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
All right. Promising we're almost there. This is me. Just a reminder, Todd hit on this. We did not do any capital improvement projects since the tornado. We have not been we couldn't keep up with things because we were trying to put back together. And, obviously we covered this in the retreat. Mr. Smith has been working, Troy Smith's been working hard to get some. We're still bidding on a few of these, but this is our plan for the summer. MCOR, you remember we gave you guys a 3-year budget on that? They have come back to us, and if we go in, Todd, what was the savings on that?
It was 4%. I mean, we'll bring that contract next time.
Right.
Because, I mean, it was just trying to get that on there. And that is all of the computer stuff with our HVAC.
So essentially, if
all the
we
buildings.
opted in, it's a discount to get it done, so we've scheduled that. It still will take probably 2 years as we talk to them, because you've got a ton to do. The door safety entry contacts, we're bidding that right now. And then we're scheduled on the roofing and Garland preventative maintenance. That's on the atrium out here at the high school. That was not done when the tornado. We've got to reseal that and really make sure that thing doesn't leak and take care of repairing it. Blacktop repair, preventative maintenance. Right now we're bidding it. Our low bid on that is 122, but we're still bidding it. Blacktop baseball and softball entrances, we're looking at lumping that in as we do that, because that desperately needs paved back there. And then our tennis courts, this right now is, instead of a repair on it, we are at replacement or resurfacing, which is grinding it down. Still getting bids on that. And then parking lot lights, we're replacing those. Those are scheduled. GHS bleacher seat replacement. Remember, we're going to take from the auxiliary gym to fix the main gym, then replace the auxiliary gym, much cheaper way to do it. And then we are putting up new shot and disc backstop fences. It's safe out there, but it's not as safe as it could be. And I think, long-term, that's the right move. So that is our capital facilities plan, not to mention there's still things that need to be done inside the buildings to repair and make sure we're going, but that's this year's capital plan. Questions? Okay.
So when is the GMS gym floor supposed to start and be completed?
It starts right after basketball camps, and I don't have my calendar, but I'm gonna say like the second week of June, and it's supposed to be done, they say 5 to 6 weeks. I've learned with that not to give an end date.
High school.
Before August?
Before, yes, it will be ready before school, yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah.
And that was part of the tornado. We still had money for that.
Right.
And again, that's not replacing the wood floor. It's taking it all the way down and repainting it, restaining it, relining it.
Right.
So it'll look sharp. Right.
Everything?
And
All
then
right.
Teresa has a
Old-
staffing update.
Yeah, old business, item C. Mrs. Scherzinger, can you please provide us with an update on staffing?
Yes, I attended a HR conference at Hamilton County recently, and they talked about, I know we alluded to this earlier, a nationwide teacher shortage. And a lot of the things we talked about is retention of staff. And if you look at that little graphic, it talks about there were 9,672 teaching positions open for the 22-23 school year. 2,577 remained unfilled. Think about that. I don't know how you start a school year with that many unfilled teaching positions. And I know I'm preaching to the choir and a lot of the people in the audience today, because I'm going to say with 10 days left of the school year, we're tired. Everyone's tired. So we have lost 4 math teachers and a special education teacher who are leaving education altogether. They're going into the business world, and we have 2 teachers retiring. And so I did exit interviews with those teachers to find out, was there something that we could have done to support them? They would have continued teaching. We want to make sure that we're offering our staff support in every area they need. And the 2 things they talked about, the reason why they're leaving education and going into the business world, is the first one is the lack of a chance for promotion. They jokingly said, I see what my administrator goes through, so I don't want to be a principal. But there's no other chance to grow or to be promoted in education. And then the other one really spoke to me, and it was that social media pressure as a teacher. In today's society, it's easy to go to social media with your complaint first instead of going to the teacher. And that is hard for an educator to see. So that was the second most important thing that they talked about is, contractually, we talk about parents who are complaining should go to teachers first, then they can go to the principal, then they can go to other people. But that seems to be something that's really hard for people to do now because they can go right to social media to complain about what happened in their kid's day or whatever. So those were the things they listed as things that we could do to help support them. All the teachers have stated, and I don't know, I like to think it wasn't just because I was sitting there, but they said they have felt support by their building principals. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with those other 2 things that I mentioned. So you have seen probably a few of those postings come out. Our principals are doing a great job in being proactive. We've gotten most of them filled. I think we have the special education position open now. We've done a great job recruiting some highly talented new teachers. You can see from my Facebook post, I've been trying to show the community who those people are, and a couple of Goshen graduates or a couple of Goshen students formerly have been hired now. So that's exciting to see. But I just wanted to kind of share that with you so that you think about as you see those postings come or my Facebook posts, that's why we don't want to wait. I feel like if we wait, then we're not going to be able to get the best candidates. So,
And I will say Teresa and our principal, they're attracting great teachers. We're not struggling with attracting or, getting people here. And really those numbers are not overwhelming. It's just really the first time we've seen teachers leaving the profession. I get ticked when we lose somebody to another district. I don't want to do that, right? But when we see teachers leaving the profession, that scares me and, should us, because it's can't change that one. But I think we've got a culture here with our staff and we do support them, but we'll attract people and we'll work doggedly to make sure those positions are filled and filled with the, certified staff. And so that's what we do. But that's just a good update, good heads up for you guys. All right.
Anybody have any questions?
great job getting some really good people for us.
I think it's exciting for people to see the new faces too before they start. So that's always exciting.
So moving on to item 8, new business, public participation. Mrs. Scherzinger, do we have anyone sign up for public participation?
We do, yes.
Okay. Each person addressing the board will give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 2 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the Board of Education. As a board, we listen and take notes. All subject matters that require follow-up, someone from our administration will follow up on the outcome of what you shared today. So first on the list,
Corey Ford.
you could stand.
I would just want to use the podium here. It might be the easiest because some of them got papers. Good?
Yeah, sure.
You can use the podium.
And face this way?
Yeah, I mean.
Or
sure,
face us.
If you don't
You
mind.
want to turn the podium?
I'd
Sure.
like to.
Yeah.
Please. Thank you. So will you pass these down? I brought gifts. Ha-ha.
Don't worry, I won't start yet.
I have an address announcement to make first. Ladies and gentlemen of the Goshen School Board, my name is Corey Ford, and I'm the Assistant Director of the National School Board Leadership Council, nsblc.org. My address is 48 Warner Street, Rochester, Ohio, 44625. Nothing I say should be construed as legal advice. Thank you for having me tonight. My time is brief, so I'll cut to the chase. You have been misled. In 2018, the National Education Association published an article revealing that they had been working in collaboration with the nation's leading school board organizations and its subsidiary state organizations for decades. In 2021, when it became clear that this was the case, half the state organizations left but took the legislative platforms and goals with them unchanged. Today, school board members throughout the state of Ohio are trained on a platform that was established in partnership with the 2 major national teachers unions. You need to understand that the district employees have representation. They elect their officers every year. You are charged with oversight of the district as it serves the community and the responsibility use of public resources. Often the incentives of labor organizations and the community are at odds, and when they are, your training ensures that trade organizations get final say. Ms. Gray, you claimed your attorney advised you to secretly deliberate on policy before bringing it to the forward for a first reading at tonight's board meeting. Ohio Revised Code 121.22 states, quote, "This section shall be liberally construed to require public officials to take official action and to conduct all deliberations upon official business only in open meetings unless the subject matter is specifically accepted by law," unquote. By unilaterally denying Mr. West's policy placement on the agenda, you may have infringed upon his and the voters' First Amendment rights and violated the OMA. By doing so without explicit authority granted under law on your own policy, this board may be sued for damages for your misinformed actions. Thank you. I don't have it, actually.
Okay, next one.
You don't have them yet?
Not yet. Thank you.
How long are you waiting?
Next, Jackson Ritchie.
You don't have.
Jackson Ritchie.
A business card. Contact information. Maybe they're backlogged.
I'm ready.
Just say your name and your address.
Yeah, name and address.
My name is Jackson Ritchie. I live in 6303 Heatherwood Drive. I am a sophomore at Goshen High School, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to speak today. I want to establish one thing. I'm not here to offend anyone, make anyone feel bad about anything. There should be parameters in place to respect others. I want to say Goshen schools have failed me and made me feel like I'm nothing. I would like to make you aware of an incident that had happened a couple months back. I was in the boys' restroom using the urinal when a female walked in. I felt uncomfortable, violated, and embarrassed. I said to the girl, "What are you doing in here?" And I received no response. Then I asked again, "What are you doing in here?" I received no response again. I finally asked her, "Do you have a penis?" She did not respond to me, and I said, "Get out," raising my tone and voice. My last words to her, "If you have a penis, use the men's restroom. If you have a vagina, use the women's restroom." I was completely in shock and didn't know what to do except get out of there and leave and go back to class. Now every day as I walk the halls, I have to see this girl knowing she saw me use the restroom. I am embarrassed, and I would really appreciate if Goshen would put policies in place to protect me and my fellow other students' safety and privacy. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm now a victim of this, and also knowing several other of my friends and classmates have endured the same thing. Goshen should be embarrassed for letting this happen. My point to get across is to state that males go to men's restrooms and females go to female restrooms. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys will understand and make this into your minds, which you guys have not yet done, but I hope you guys understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Point of clarification too, Jackson, I'm sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, the process that Ms. Gray stated earlier today in meeting did not prevent that from happening to you. And it also, because there is no repercussions or policies in place, that's why you probably didn't get a phone call back in 2 months. And I apologize for that. Thank you.
School's competent. It honestly is.
Thank you.
I adore it every day. Just follow common law. Simple as that.
So next,
My name is Jessica Ritchie. I live at 6303 Heatherwood Drive, Loveland, 45140. Good evening. My name is Jessica Ritchie, and I am the mother of Jackson Ritchie, who you just heard from. My son came home that day very distraught over the situation. He was very upset when he told me the story, and my heart broke for him because I could see the embarrassment he felt that day. Even though I love Goshen School District with all my heart, I truly felt like they failed my child that day. Knowing my son is just one of many who this has happened to raises a huge concern to me. I strongly believe that there should be policies in place to prevent this from happening in the future. I am very proud of Jackson for being so brave to share his story because I know it is hard and embarrassing for him. We wanted to be a voice for other students who are maybe too embarrassed to say that this has happened to them as well because we have heard from some of them. I truly pray and hope that you think about this story. Remember, your job is to protect the students of Goshen local schools. And until a policy is in place, I feel you are failing to do so. This should not be about being afraid of hurting someone's feelings who may identify as a different gender, because that's not what this is about. This should be about protecting the students of Goshen and their privacy. Something needs to be done before this gets out of hand and something more serious happens than just the incident that happened with my son. I hope you truly consider taking action with this problem and putting something in place to protect the students of Goshen in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dana Dunaway?
Dana Dunaway.
I'm not, because Ms. Daniels? Not all here. Oh, my name is Liz Daniels. I live at 10915 Armstrong Road, Pleasant Plain, Ohio, 45162. You guys know that this is my favorite place to be, and this makes me highly uncomfortable, but I do want to come here to say today that we have to draw a hard line in the sand. And I know that it's not an easy thing to do. We have lawyers and we have all this red tape that we have to go to. But at the end of the day, we have to have something in place that protects all students, whether it's the boys, the girls, or the children who are confused at the moment. Because at the end of the day, there's going to come a problem and you don't want to be on the wrong side of it. There's schools across this country right now who are dealing with this because they were not proactive about this. I don't want to wait on the state to do something about it because the state's not living here in our community. We are living here in our community. and the people here are truly concerned about this issue. So moving forward, I would hope that you guys would really take this, that the community is concerned about this, and that there's something that's put in place for this.
Next.
As an anonymous member, but you have to say your name when you come forward and your address. Okay. Laura Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Laura Johnson, 1318 Cross Creek Drive, 45140. I come to you respectfully tonight as a board, many of whom I voted for you. And I just have a question about some of the procedural things that have happened tonight. I understand that there was an issue with the agenda tonight, and I have a question about that. It is my understanding that anyone, board member or parent, may add an issue to the agenda, and it should be put on the agenda. And it is concerning to me that an issue was raised for the agenda that was not able to be put on there. And it's my understanding that a first reading of what is on the agenda is just that. It is a first reading, and you have a 30-day policy to put things in place in order to make something policy. But putting something on the agenda to be a first reading should be just that, especially when it's representing some of the voices of the students and parents in the district. And by refusing to put things on the agenda, by not recognizing motions to put things on the agenda, you're quieting voices, as I understand it, violating your own policy. So it was mentioned in your discussion, Deb, of why the the agenda wasn't approved, that it was within 2 weeks of the deadline. Is there a deadline of when things have to be introduced to the agenda? If so, when is that? I think it would benefit us all to know that. Putting something on for a first reading does not make it policy, especially when we know that it's going to be, there's going to be time to take time to vet that and whatnot. I have students in this district. I want them protected. I want them represented. And we have to think about the kids. As you said, Deb, also, we have to put our kids first. And if we're going to follow agenda, we should make sure the agenda follows policy. Thank you.
All chambers.
Everything's touchscreen, right? So I didn't come with anything planned today. I just came in support of one of your five.
Can you say your name?
Yeah, she already said my name. My address is 990 Business 28, Milford, Ohio. I came in support of one of the five of your school board members that I fully stand behind. I also recently, although I don't live in your district, I'll just be upfront with that. I am a small business owner that benefits from people in this district, and I'd hate to see, I actually want to say, I'm really actually, and I didn't come prepared with anything, but I honestly want to applaud this school board, and I want everybody in this district to understand that you have something much better than what Milford has of a school board. And if you may disagree with them, approach them and give them a chance to correct wrongs, because I do believe there have been some wrongs recently for Goshen. And I would hate to see Goshen turn into Milford, because everybody in the last couple of years has said, we'd hate to see Milford turn into this, and we'd hate to see this school turn from that. Well, guess what? Milford's there. And I'm happy. You know what, that young man, it's, not everybody gets an A+ in public speaking, man. You did a very brave thing standing up here doing this. But listen to each other, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're hiding stuff or putting stuff on it because you don't want to approach it, I get it. I ran for the school board in Milford this past year, and I'm thankful I did not get elected. I'm just telling you that right now, because it is very bad in Milford, guys. Be very thankful for this group that you have here, but please work together and listen to your community, because they're the ones that will be there in that next election. And they're the ones that are going to cast that vote. And I'm going to tell you right now, things can turn just like that. These are the taxpayers and respect what they are saying.
Thank you all for coming today to speak. New business. B, financials 1 through 8. We have a motion to approve new business B, financials 1 through 8.
So moved. Second.
We have discussion related to new business B, financials 1 through 8.
Just two quick updates on that. I know I've talked. The contract of the education technology, that's our outsourced technology. And the MOA with the Department of Public Safety, that is for, we got the driver's ed scholarship grant, $61,000. Essentially that MOA with the department says that the group that we're gonna do our driver's training with is qualified, certified. So essentially, when the dollars come to us, we use them, that we're using them with a qualified Department of Public Safety. Department of Public Safety. So just good information. It's a great scholarship. I think Mr. Dubs goes tomorrow to get the finalized pieces of how I think we're going to be offering that to students after tomorrow, I believe, or Wednesday. So excited to get some of our kids' driver's license that can't afford it, but that's what that MOA does.
Mr. Shingle, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
New business personnel, item C 1 through 9. We have a motion to approve new business.
So moved.
Second.
We have discussion related to new business C, personnel, items 1 through 9.
Just a quick update on that personnel piece. A lot of contracts there, but as those are all 1-year teachers going from 1-year contracts to 1 year, 2-year teachers going to 2-year, some resignations, and then obviously a few continuing contracts in there as well. But, as I said earlier, thrilled that we're hiring qualified staff and retaining qualified staff in some of these non-cert positions too. Probably the most exciting one on there for me is the summer lunch program. I know the bus was introduced and we get her back tomorrow, I think, or Wednesday, but we're going to put it on the road and do a little bit of work with it. But those ladies that was my first question to Brooke, is they work all year. Are they sure they want to do this all summer? And their first answer was absolutely. So I'm very excited to have those ladies that are on there running this summer lunch program. It's going to help a lot of kids. But I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Mr. Shingle, can you please spell the roll?
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera? Yes. Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
New business athletic personnel, item D 1 through 6. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Do we have discussion related to new business D athletic personnel, items 1 through 6?
I will be abstaining from this, just because baseball season, spring sports are still going.
Thank you.
Just like we try to hire good teachers, we're hiring some good coaches in here. I'm excited that they're in there. And, I think our staffs are coming together. It's exciting. I think you saw all the stuff with athletics. It takes good people working with our kids outside the hours, and these folks that are entering into that value them. So, and the volunteers as well.
Mr. Shingle, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Abstain.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Paprocki?
Yes.
New business personnel E. Items 1 and 2. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Do we have discussion related to new business E, personnel, certified substitutes, item 1? Mr. Shingle, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Abstain.
New business F, miscellaneous. Do we have a motion to approve new business F?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have discussion related to new business F, miscellaneous 1 and 2.
Just a crowd you see on there that we've got acceptance donations for the grub bus. I think those came in around Health Source, GEF. We had multiple donors. What those dollars are being used for. Peterman donated the bus. Peterman donated the wrap. Those dollars are going to equipping that bus with an RV outlet essentially, and with some on the bus. So, that's not a district expense. We got some great support and sponsors to make sure that that bus was funded without using additional dollars right now. So we're excited about it. There's no doubt. And then athletic camps, our kids are going everywhere this summer. That's just a few of them. It's good to know where they're going, heading out. So a lot of camps, getting kids out competing.
Mr. Shinko, can you please call the roll?
We'll start with that. Mr. West,
Yes.
Mrs. Markey,
Yes.
Ms. Pepperrock,
Yes.
Mr. Rare,
Yes.
Ms. Gray.
Yes. New business G, Board of Education reports. Melissa?
So I would say student achievement, so it's always done for me at the beginning of our meeting. We had great student achievement shown from preschool all the way to varsity athletes, so always well done. And also then Bill, Lisa, and I attended the Board Leadership Institute just last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And it was a good Friday and Saturday workshop, lots of opportunity to attend, just a workshop of only school board members. So anyhow, it was great to see. And that's one of the things that, definitely is not done in all meetings. And so that was, so we already do that and do it well. So, and then it kind of takes my report for me. So it's just well done in practice. So then one thing I will add, and I will put the report with the link. So like Teresa, if you want to send it out, there's a professor from Wichita State that had some strategies to support continuous teaching improvement. I know our teachers do a great job, but I thought it was very interesting since I'm not a teacher myself. Maybe everyone uses these strategies, but it was just a way to improve skills through purposeful practicing, like practice makes not perfect, but just practice makes, improvement, recognizing milestones, monitoring progress, mentoring others. And I know we already use a lot of those strategies. Yeah, but I'll send you the link and I'll put that in my report. And then a couple of things from BLI. There was a book that they talked about called The Fred Factor, and they said everyone should be a Fred. I'm like, be a Fred. So I ordered the book and I'll share it with everyone. It's about a mailman who's expressed kindness. So that's something we could all learn from. And then this Answering Why book is the OSBA Fall Book Club, Unleashing Passion, Purpose, and Performance in Younger Generations. So I'll read it and share it along. And then one other thing kind of related to student achievement is the fact they said was that only 30% of Ohio kids get a 2 to 4 year degree. So that means that 70% need training for jobs. So I just always thought, well, we've got that covered because Pat and his team do an outstanding job of preparing so many of our students for jobs. So I felt great about that. And then the other session that I thought was really great was communicating for results. So it was just really talking about different communication styles and the way to communicate with different people. And I know that that was one of our training session that we were thinking about doing in April. So I think it would be definitely beneficial if we can have someone from OSBA come to a, either before a board meeting and, work through a communication plan just to, we all work together better. I think there's definitely opportunity that we can, make our schools better. We all want the same thing. We do want our safety for everything. It's just the way we go about it. So I think if we work together and communicate better, so if we can have a session like that, I think that's definitely, you know, I learned something from that session and I would love to have that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Melissa. Bill?
I've got a few different things. I'll start off with the Great Oaks. I'm gonna hand you the spotlight on students. We have a lot of kids in here this month. Great Oaks, our kids are at the Oaks right now. We also had a group of kids from, a group of young ladies from Scarlet Oaks come and visited the Ford transmission plant where I work. Some of our women there, they're in Ford Women in Manufacturing. They reached out to me because they knew I was on the Goshen School Board and the Great Oaks School Board. So they had, I think we had 19 young ladies in the program at Scarlet Oaks, a different program at Scarlet Oaks. They'd come into the plant and they did a tour. They met with some of our skilled trades. They met with some of our engineers. They met with our IT people. They met with some of the emergency response team people because we had a few ladies who were in the fire services program. It was great. They split them up in 4 different groups. One of the rooms they visited was our additive manufacturing room there, and that's where they have our 3D printers. We have over, I think over $2.5 million worth of printers. A lot of them they print plastic. Now we have 3 printers that print metal. Pretty amazing, and the kids have great questions. They visited the plant floor. See our assembly line, some of our machines, robots, and everything. Then we actually had a group from Goshen to come in. So that was a group from Scarlet Oaks. We had a group from Goshen, Mr. Talbot's engineering class. He brought 9 or 10 kids in, and those were boys and girls both. And they also went into the additive manufacturing room, and they went into our electronics lab. And these kids, they're already working with some of the 3D printers here, and they had great questions. Their software that they use. It was really neat. And at our plant, we want to continue doing this every year. So we'll probably send a group of kids from Goshen every year, and a group of kids from Scarlet or from Great Oaks.
Great opportunity.
So that was the Great Oaks piece. Also, was it Board Leadership Institute. And went to different sessions, as mentioned before, the Money Matters session, which Todd homework. Sorry, Todd.
Sounds good.
Also, went to a session on AI, 2 different sessions on AI, actually, because it's coming, and we knew it. And we have to develop policy for AI. And so that's something at our policy committee. We're going to have to work on AI policy and also cell phone use policy. So we have homework for all of us in front of us. They gave us some good resources to help us get started in that policy process. I went to another session on, OHSA division alignments. We talked about that earlier, Mr. Wake. And went to, they had one of the sponsors there. Was this Abundant Box? I sent you some information about that. And this, I think it might be good to have information with that goes with the bus this summer. That people get signed up for it. And actually, I believe they said that the kids are, I know if the kids are eligible for free lunch, they're eligible for this automatically. It might even be reduced lunch. Did you talk to them a bit? I mean,
Yeah, he said free and reduced lunch.
Free and reduced, yeah, so they're eligible automatically.
And that was a bunch. Henry, you sent me the text and I was like, I clicked on it and went, holy cow, like, it was free.
Oh, it's free.
It's a resource of
Every month.
vitamins.
Yeah, so if there's there's all kinds of stuff.
It's geared
There's
towards the
books
ages.
and stuff.
Books,
There's
supplemental stuff, right?
Yeah, there's
mental health, the physical health.
right, yeah,
Right.
everything. And it's paid for by their Medicare, Medicaid.
Right.
They get reimbursed for everything, so they want to get it out there.
It's prevention. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I had that too. And they get, so the boxes are age appropriate, like they're, a 7-year-old kid might get some, they're different, they put some toys and stuff in there too, or whatever, little puzzles or books, or, and then, a 14, 15-year-old kid gets something else, and they get them every month. Little snacks and stuff in there too. I thought that was pretty amazing. And that is,
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Lisa?
So for legislative update, everything is still that I've reported on in previous meetings. It's all still being discussed in the legislature, either in the House or the Senate. Couple things that are there are the cell phone, they're calling it the cell phone bill, which would put policies in place in by law in school districts where cell phones would not be allowed in classrooms and things like that. And then also the I'm blanking on the second one. I'll come back to it if I think of it. But for the BLI, Melissa and Bill have both reported a lot of what of the same sessions that I went to as well. Touching on the communication aspect, though, I felt like the speaker did a really great job going in depth with the types of communication styles that people have and how to work with each other on the way that people do communicate and how to respond and things of that nature. I thought that was really good. And then one of the sessions that we went to was a legal policy and planning session. And one of the things that they recommended in there is that every school board should have a policy committee to review and vet policies that are put before the board to vote on.
I was taking notes.
Yes. If I think of the second one that I talked about two meetings ago.
Probably have my list here.
I can't remember what it was. Corey?
Township, Goshen Township, still kind of reeling from the loss in their failed levy. They're seeing more police and fire kind of leave and go on to better paying jobs right now. So they're kind of scrambling, which kind of stinks. But they are doing some things to try to make that better. They're also looking at some zoning possibilities to bring more businesses and different things to the township for the community. So, but really the big stuff is the police and fire that they continue to have resignations part-time. So.
Bree, is there ever an opportunity for us to work with them just in partnership to see? I mean, I know we work with them with SROs and things like that, but obviously we both had levies on, and I think in partnership, the strengthening of our fire, EMS, police, and schools is the center of the community. Do they ever talk about ways that they could partner with us? And
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I actually met with Lisa at the Grind and Lisa Allen, and she had mentioned that she was a little disappointed that we haven't worked together like more often, and she would like to see that more. So we could definitely meet with her and see where we can kind of meet in the middle and get things done together and the message out there together. So I know they're welcome to it based on my conversation with Lisa.
okay, thank you. And then my update is the Business Advisory Committee. Lisa and I were able to attend the Hamilton County and Claremont County Business Advisory Celebration on Friday to see our Business Advisory Committee receive the 3-star state award. There's 4 stars total. And so I know we're going to be working on that 4-star, but it's a lot of data reporting back. But I just want to say a huge congratulations. Pat Dubs, I see you sitting in the back. Brooke Creekmore, Mary Lemire, and the administration teachers that go into all the work that goes into really introducing college and career readiness to our students. I was able to go and talk to a group of 5th graders during lunch last week. It was definitely the highlight of my day for sure. And just talk about different careers. I think it's really cool now, everything that we're doing that's not only college focused. I'm definitely a proponent of college as I work at the University of Cincinnati. However, I do believe that there is careers there are individuals who are meant to go directly into careers, as my husband was one of those. So love that we're continuously promote that and that we get recognized for it. So great job to our Business Advisory Council. Last Thursday, our Public Relations Committee hosted their annual volunteer dinner. Our district is blessed to have so many volunteers, from those who read to our little ones, tutor our students all the way through, those who are managing the PTO. Thanks, PTO, for your little gift tonight. The Goshen Athletic Boosters who were highlighted earlier, band boosters, and just our, everybody in general, right? Our school district is runs with so many volunteers, and it does not go unnoticed. So a big thank you to Tom Turner, Caitlin Collier, and the building administrators and the entire community that hosted a lovely celebration for our volunteers here in the district. Goshen Education Foundation, as it's been announced, is continuing to partner with the Athletic Boosters and the Alumni Association for the Golfing for Goshen Warriors golf outing that will be hosted on July 26th. It's always a great event, so if you haven't signed up yet and you're a golfer, definitely encourage you to get a team, sign up, and support those three groups who heavily support our school system. That's it for me. Any questions?
Are the golf teams full yet?
Not, but very close. So sign up quick if you want to sign up. All right, moving on. New business H, Superintendent's report.
Okay. These are, the first page of this is a lot of reminders, just dates. I mean, as we hit the end of the school year here, you guys know that there's a lot happening. Oaks graduations, I know we've divvied these out and there's things coming up. I know that we've got our chamber appreciation night as well coming up on Wednesday night. But we've got Scarlet Oaks, Live Oaks, Laurel Oaks, and then our own very GHS on the 28th at 7 p.m. I know Stephanie sent you guys an email with all the details on that. What door to enter. It's pretty easy to find. It is the only orange or red door on the back of that building. But if you need more details on that, let me know. And then our marching band is heading to Cleveland on the 17th and 18th. I don't think I added that one. I think it's on the agenda, but not on there. Our middle school left for DC, so safe travels to them this morning. 8th graders hitting DC. Annual staff recognition. So on the last day with staff, we'll do a big celebration of all years of service, retirees, you name it. Full breakfast that's being catered by our cafeteria department for the first time this year. They're excited about it. So it's going to be a nice little breakfast by them. But we'll eat breakfast from about 7 to 7:30. Probably awards from 7:30 to 8:15-ish, somewhere in there. Depends on how long-winded Teresa gets. Just kidding.
Very long.
Yeah. They like to get out of there, but we'll get in and get out and celebrate them a little bit, wrap up a great school year. Memorial Day Parade, I put a flyer on your table. We will have a bus outside of Mark Cook right about 9 o'clock. You don't have to get there at 9. We'll get the bus in the spot. The parade will take off at 10. It'll end at the cemetery, Goshen Cemetery, and then we'll, they do a nice service down there, and then we'll bring the band back. So that's what the bus is for. That's why we take a bus. Get the band and kids back from, they march in the parade. Reminder of our June meeting dates. We have 2. June 10th is our regular, and then June 21st at 7 a.m. is just the special meeting for Todd to close out financials for the year. And then I've made a request, and it sounds like we can do this to move our July 8th meeting to the 15th. 4th of July falling where it does, and Todd closing out financials for the year, and then also end of month of June, and 4th of July being that week, kind of put some holidays in there. So it'd be really, we could do it, but it would really not be great to rush that on for the 15th. Also, July 10th is our cutoff for any teachers to back out of contracts. So that gives us a little wiggle room there too. So we will be moving that to July 15th unless I have any objections to that. I think everybody said they were good. Okay. And then on my agenda, and we've mentioned it a couple times, policy committee, and Governor DeWine's state address. He spent 60 minutes talking about public education initiatives that will have an impact on district policy. Cell phone's one of them. The 135th General Assembly has a large amount of proposed legislation that, if when become law, will have an impact on us. Here's some of those. And when I say some of those, the bathroom bill's on there, student technology records, college credit plus. Jump over, you see on the other side, a ton about property tax exemption, phasing out the state income tax, grade band and licensure, cell phones, remote services for support staff. There is a ton in here that's going to impact policy. I did policy for 13 years here in the district and feel like I know it, but when you throw that many and some of these more complicated, that it's not revisions or changes in state law language, but new policies that need to be adopted, I can only recommend to this board that you consider establishing a policy committee, work with our OSBA policy consultant. They do a great job of keeping our policies up to date with law changes and also working on model policies with us. But a lot of these, I say, cell phones and teachers in the audience, I would not want you guys to make that decision. Cell phones have an impact in the classroom that are unknown. So as we get model policy or ideas from state law, make sure that we're working through that with the people that have to implement. And that committee, I think is, we need some recommendations from OSBA because there are policy committees in every district around us besides us. Why we haven't had it? I think it's time. I think it gives us a good platform to have conversations, work with the folks that will have to implement it, or work with director of operations, might have facility impacts, work with curriculum, might have curriculum impacts, work with principals, might have day-to-day impacts. But establish that committee. Some of it's just going to be policy that comes and they'll make policy language changes. Some of it's submissive, some of it's easy to say. But as we start getting into some of these, I really feel like we need to have a committee similar to our audit finance, similar to our facilities, similar to our staff public relations, that we have 2 board members involved in this. All of those policy committee meetings, all of our committee meetings are open to the public. Hold those and set those, but need to get some guidance on OSBA because they've done this from other districts. But my recommendation to you guys is that, you make a motion or move to establish a policy committee and direct me to kind of get the ball rolling with it. Questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to establish the board policy committee.
I'll second.
Was not do second.
Lisa?
Lisa was stronger.
Mr. Schinkel, will you call, any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about it. What is it going to entail? What are we going to do? Who's going to be a part of it? I think there's a little more details that we need to have before we vote on it.
And I think that's, I would probably bring that to you in June.
So, yeah, we probably should vote on it.
Yeah.
I would-
I'll have some information on it, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see what some other school districts do in terms of policy committee. What's included, how often they meet, the functionality of the committee, what current policies we have in our districts that it would impact, that we would maybe need to align at the same time as implementation. And I think you already stated this, but on all of our other official board committees, there's at least 2 board members, and I'd like 2 board members to make sure we're accept the committee. Mr. Schinkel, will you call the roll?
I'd like to move to table, point of order. I'd like to move it to table till the next meeting so we have more information. I don't think we can vote on it right now. We don't have enough information about it.
So should we investigate creating a policy committee? Maybe that was what it should be. I mean, that would.
If we're going to investigate other policies, we should probably investigate the policy.
So we're not making a motion to create the policy committee. but we're asking that you bring to the next board meeting an outline of what the policy committee looks like in other districts. I did do some research personally and know that a majority of districts have a best practice of a policy committee that reviews like quarterly, because like all of the policies, like all of the legislation that was up there, that will come out of some of that. What is nice with OSBA is they have attorneys and everybody who vet it, and then you bring it to your district, and then you work with, how does this work in our school, right? Like, do we have the facilities? If we need to modify it for our school, then that committee modifies it before bringing it to the first reading, and then it's ready for implementation in the final reading. So,
Just point of clarification, just like to know that is not the only way that we need to do policies.
Right.
You know, as a board, that is our role, that is our job. That is why we were voted in, is to head it and look and create policies. So OSBA is not the only way that we bring policies in, so.
right.
Okay, I just want
It's
to make
just
sure.
one of the,
yeah.
like, we would review OSBA, we would review like the policy that you said today, and that would be just the part of that process, and then it would make it to the board. It's been reviewed by our facilities and all of that same stuff to align. So,
I do think
no
too,
motion.
with that OSBA piece, we need to thoroughly review our manual. Go through the manual and go through as we go through that, look at policy consultants coming down, looking through to make sure there may be things we need rescinded, there may be things that need to be adjusted. But I'm going to assume, there is a board policy that comes with implementing a committee, and it'll kind of spell that out too. So I'll bring that stuff to you guys.
So do we
Either way.
rescind the motion on the table? That's what I need to, yes. Okay, we rescind the motion on the table. Any other questions? Brian, do you have anything else as part of your superintendent
Sorry.
report?
Just a reminder, we've tried to get this scheduled, and with Mr. Dieters coming out and giving us an update on policy update questions we have, and then also board development. We've had this scheduled a couple times, and things have just not worked out as we're trying to get folks in to work with us. But right now I've got him scheduled for Monday, June 10th. That's before the regular meeting. So we'll have a special from 4 to might be 5:30, a little bit of break time in there between, and then we'll hold our regular June 10th meeting following that. So Monday, June 10th, 4 o'clock, special meeting with the board's attorney to discuss policy and board development.
And that's an open meeting as well. Special.
Any additional items, Mr. Bailey?
I'm all talked out.
Any additional questions, board?
No.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Bill, any discussion? Mr. Schinkel, can you please spell the roll?
Mrs. Paprocki? Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes. Meeting adjourned at 8:40.